All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody, and welcome to today's Monday morning mortgage message. I do have a new website that's dedicated to this, so you never have to remember a link or go to a link ever again. All you have to do is go to MondayMortgageUpdate.com, MondayMortgageUpdate.com, and you can join this. So never have to deal with, hey, Sean, where's the link ever again? So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And first off, I wanted to see, Christy, do we have any announcements today?
Good morning, everyone. Actually, no, it is Thanksgiving week and everyone should be enjoying their family and doing pretty much whatever they want with a little work in between. So we don't really, oh, sorry. Yes, I do. We are doing a hike, the Pinnacle Peak hike on Wednesday morning, the day before Thanksgiving at 8 a.m. If anyone wants to join me, just send me a email or a text or whatever, and I can give you more information on that. We usually have a good 10 to 15 people joining us. Super fun, day before Thanksgiving hike. Help you lose some calories before you eat all your good stuff on Thanksgiving. But let me know if you want to join us. But that's it for the next 2 weeks.
Prepare for being indulged in lots of food, right?
Yes.
I love it. I love it. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So we actually saw really good news last week in the mortgage rate front. And we saw, I guess, less than exciting news is always good for the mortgage industry. So we saw interest rates improve a little bit last week. There's a lot of banter back and forth in regards to the news that mortgage rates last week reached the lowest they've been in 10 or in a few decades, I think was the article. They just moved 2 weeks ago in an amount in 1 week that was greater than along the last couple of decades, meaning we just had a huge shift from rates in the 8s to the mid-7s, and that change was the biggest change in a while. So rates are still a little high, but they are in the 7s, guys. So like I always do, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and then show you guys a little bit of what's going on with the markets. Mike and Rachel, you'll know exactly what this is from. So we are down a little bit today on the mortgage-backed securities, and I want to show you what I'm talking about real fast with the charts. So we saw a couple days of really good gains here. Green is good for mortgage rates, but this is the move I was talking about. Late October to now, we have moved basically a half to almost 5/8 in interest rate better. So that's why your phone's blowing up, because news is basically talking about how great rates are right now and how they've dropped. And it's very short time period that it took to get from here to here, which is what they're all kind of talking about. So rates are still pretty high. They're still in the mid-7s. But this move has really changed my phone and hopefully your phone from being a little bit quiet to now ringing again. And I've seen a lot of activity this last 2 weeks. So hopefully we'll continue to see this trend upward. And one of the really good things that I have seen and heard is that the Feds are now in a pause mode and most likely will not be doing any more hikes. In fact, most economists, there you go, haven't had all my coffee this morning, are predicting that there's going to be 4 rate cuts next year. So up to 100 basis points in reduction. And that could start, I would say probably June is probably when they're going to start. Usually it's about 6 months after the stop in the Fed funds, about that when they actually start to cut rates. So guys, next year, we're going to see rates really come down, and we all know what's going to happen. So I need you all to dust off everyone that has been in a holding pattern, dust off all of those pre-qualifications that we've issued. Let them know, guys, be ready. They should have bought already, but we already know that. But a lot of people are just going to be paused. Sorry about that, guys. But a lot of people are going to jump back in. So get your exercise going, get fit and ready, because next year is going to be a lot different than this year. And that's assuming rates do come down, assuming that this couple trillion in bonds that the government still has to sell doesn't have a negative impact on what we're seeing here with inflation coming down and rates again coming down as well. Remember, poor economic news, a recession is actually good for mortgage rates. So as you see that, the more negative news we see with employment, actually the better it is for mortgage rates. So I think we're in a good pattern right now. Let's hope that we don't get some really bad bond auctions that would drive rates a little bit higher. And the way that works, guys, our government has to create bonds and sell them to raise capital. So if they come out at an auction and say, okay, we're going to give 5% yield on these bonds, who wants them? And nobody wants to buy them, then they're going to raise the rate higher and higher and higher until they sell. And they may even force the buyers to purchase them, which is a whole nother topic. But if we have bad bond auctions, that could put pressure on the bond market because if they have to sell, if they have to push those rates higher, it could actually impact rates for the worse. So we're going to watch that carefully. But for now, it is a pretty good trend. We went through 3 different moving averages. We went through the 25, we went through the 50 and the 100 and broke right through. That's really, really good progress. It's hard to do, guys. So thumbs up for what rates are doing. And I'm going to now jump back over and talk about assumptions, loan assumptions. We talked a little bit about it last week. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike and Rachel, who own UMe. And UMe, if you saw their logo, you'll get a kick out of it. I love it. And basically,
kick out of it, pun. I get a kick out of it. There's a pun there too.
There is. It's a donkey with a U and an ME next to it. So assume. It's the funniest thing in the world. But these guys are true professionals at Assumable Mortgages, and they've put together something that I think is I've thought about it, but they took the time and they dedicated the dollars to building a site that's really going to help you guys and your buyers with Assumable Mortgages. So Rachel, Mike, why don't you guys take the floor, introduce yourself, your company, and what you guys are doing for the Assumable Mortgage world.
Yes. Hi. Good morning. Thank you, Sean. I applaud you. Most loan officers, so everybody knows, are absolutely against assumptions because it takes a buyer away from loan officers. So I applaud you, Sean, for educating your agents and bringing this to your agents. That's huge.
It is huge.
Thank you, Sean.
Just try not to take all my pre-qualified buyers away, guys. I'm just kidding.
So ultimately, Mike and Rachel, we are in business together and we are also married. So we spend a lot of time together.
Smartest thing to do, always work with your wife.
So about 10, 11 months ago, we were driving and we were talking about loan officers that are pitching the 3-2-1 buy down because we are huge numbers people, we're geeks, and we just don't understand the make sense of the 3-2-1 buy down. However, we came up with the idea of assumptions. You know, they've always been around. It's been about 30 to 40 years since they've really been utilized. And so there's this huge learning curve, but we kind of saw that they were going to come back to the market. And the success rate, we were hearing a couple people using them, the success rate of successfully closing on an assumption was very, very low. And so we started to notice a need. We're like, why is it low? Oh, we know why the success rate is low, because the buyer and the seller don't really understand how to process an assumption once they're under contract, and neither does an agent. It's really like the lending language, and that's the language I would say is our first language. Sean's first language is probably lending. Your second language is English. And so we kind of noticed, hey, you know what? The most qualified people to help with an assumption would be lenders. However, lenders don't want to participate in an assumption because there is no money in it for lenders at all. You have a buyer that's taking over an existing loan. So there's no new origination. So we came up with the processing company. So we assist in processing the transaction once it's under contract. However, there's a big problem. There's a 30 to 40 year gap in education, which is huge. And so we really needed to find a way to educate agents. So in addition to processing the assumption once it's under contract, because we speak the language, we know how to get a hold of the servicers, we understand, we have a database of servicers, we navigate the servicers, we have to educate agents. We help listing agents with their listings. We teach them how to list and what keywords to use and how to identify whether or not your listing is assumable. And then we also help buyers agents bring back those buyers that were sitting on the fence that disappeared because rates went up. And so we can help play matchmaker, kind of show the economics, educate. So we decided we're going to create tons of tools for agents so that there's this awareness. And a lot of people have been basically asking the question, rates are going to come down. What's the shelf life of an assumption? And that's a great question. My answer is, yeah, you know what? They might be really hot for the next year or two, and they might start to taper, but that 30 to 40 year gap where they were missing, I don't think that's going to happen again. Maybe not for a really long time. I think rates might come down. And then, you know, for a couple of years, they'll stay in the 5.5%, 6% range. And then they might go back up to 7, 8. And I think that the assumption is going to remain in our vocabulary and our day-to-day practice at some level for maybe another decade, maybe 2 decades. I don't think they're going to disappear like they did for 30 or 40 years. So at the very least, I think it's a great tool in your tool belt. It's great to learn about it because I think it's going to be, it's here to stay for a while. So Mike's going to show you around the website and kind of show you some economics on what really the impact is to a buyer and how it can help your sellers.
So you want to go through one of the scenarios?
Yes.
Okay, Sean, you want me to share my screen?
Yes, go ahead. Let me see if I can make sure I can do that for you. Hold on. I'm going to
So yeah, the most powerful part that anytime a buyer sees this or a seller sees this, this is usually the aha moment for realtors alike, is just seeing the economics behind what an assumption does. So for example, if you have an assumption, I'm still trying the screen share. Okay, so here we are. And let's go to, all right, can we see the screen share there? But let me go to show some of the stuff on here. Can everybody see the screen there now?
yes. And Mike, why don't you go over, just for those who maybe aren't really understanding which loans are assumable, just some quick basics on what which loans are.
Sure. So one of the things I always describe what assumptions are is by describing what they're not. And they're not those crazy phone calls that all the realtors get from somebody that just watched a TikTok video from their investment club about how to creatively finance a house for $0 down, right? Of the subject twos and the wraps and all that. That's not at all what we're talking about. What we're talking about are your government mandated, super legit, above board VA government loan assumptions. And those government loan assumptions are VA, FHA, and USDA. But the reality behind USDA is that they're not really practical. So everything we'll be talking about is all VA and FHA loans. And the key piece between assuming a VA loan and FHA loan versus the whole wraps and subject twos is the seller is completely off the hook on a real assumption. So the buyer actually goes onto the loan, they take over that note, and the seller's name comes right off that loan, so they are no longer ever liable for it. So yeah, that's more or less what we're talking about when we say assumptions. And let's see if we have, I'll show you some of the, what's that? Okay, yeah, so if you guys want to take a look at this, it's actually on takemylowrate.com, and you'll see up here it says UME projects, but when you guys are talking to your buyers and sellers and they ask you more about it and you're not exactly sure, you can just say, hey, go to takemylowrate.com. It's much easier for people to remember. So on there, you can search, for example, we have listings. So you'll see on here, this has all the VA and FHA assumable loan listings on the market right now. So let's say you see this, you're looking in the West Side area, somewhere right around here. So you can click on any of these and see the details. So here you'll see that this actually has a 2.98% interest rate. Now, this is actually an estimate based on when they purchased the house. What we do is we go and all day we call the listing agents to verify that that rate is correct, or actually what the rate actually is. So let's say if it says 2.98 here, it might actually be 2.75. And you'll see that on our website for verified and certified properties. But you can see the difference here, and I don't know if we want to go through the whole calculator part, but if you see here, the difference in a monthly payment to someone buying this house is about, on the 2.98, you're looking at $1,852 per month. And if based on a 7.5% interest rate, $3,000 a month. So it's about a $1,200 a month savings. Now, if you look down here, you can see that they're selling the house for $460,000, but they've only got to come in with $40,845. So that's less than 10% to purchase this property.
Can you expand on why they need that down payment?
Yes, absolutely. So the reason that calculates this at 4845 is there's a gap or a delta, which means if they're selling the house for $460,000, and in this case, they owe about $420,000 on that loan. So when you assume that loan, again, you're taking over that existing loan. There is no new loan. You take over that existing loan of $420,000, but if someone's selling it at $460,000, somehow you have to make up that $40,000. And in this case, you would do that with cash. You could also do some seller creative financing, but that's just a little bit more. That's not really what we're talking about here. So you come in with cash. Now, let's say, for example, they only owed $300,000 on this house. So now you have a $460,000 sales price and a lot lower loan amount of $300,000. So there's $160,000 you need to account for. In that case, you can actually use secondary financing also, such as a HELOC. So you would use that, and you would have to make up the difference between, because you can do with it still 10% down. So in this case, $46,000, and say it's $150,000 difference. So now you get a HELOC for about $110,000, let's say. So one of the things that an objection a lot of times will hear when you show so HELOC, let's say, for example, the rate is probably 11%. Now, a lot of people, they'll say, whoa, 11% on that amount. I know 11, way too high. But what we've built is we built calculators. I don't think I have the calculators up here, but we built calculators where you can do a thing called blended rate. And for those of you that aren't familiar with that, you basically average out their first mortgage rate, let's say in this case 2.98, and their second mortgage rate of 11% based on their loan amounts. And let's say that blended rate probably comes to about 4.25-ish. So that means on that total debt, you're paying an interest rate of 4.25. Still much, much better than 7.5. So that's one of the ways that you can speak to any buyers and or sellers. Now, another key piece to the assumptions here is if it's a VA loan, it's actually assumable by non-veterans also. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't know. You can assume a VA loan even if you're not a veteran. It's just that the veteran has to give you permission to do that. Now, there's a whole thing about entitlement that we can go into in more detail probably on another meeting, so I'm not sure we have enough time for that. But the key piece is that means investors also. So an example would be, say we have a home that's sales price of $550,000, and there's a VA loan on it for $544,000. That means an investor can take over that loan, probably at 3.25%, let's say, or can take over buy that property with $6,000 down as an investment property. It's just crazy what's out there.
Yeah, and that's what I want everyone that's on this call to really be cognizant of. Because if you have investors that you've worked with in the past and they're just not in the market, you can get them back in the buying mode by displaying these options to them. So it's a fantastic, and yeah, I mean, just a fantastic website. You want to talk a little bit more about the certified agents part too? I know you probably get into that. I'm probably skipping a lot, but.
So yeah, no problem. So from a certified agents spot, now we just got this. Rach, do you want to navigate that?
Sure.
Pop in.
Okay. Okay, so the certified agents part. We are very limited on time today, but ultimately, what we want to do is set up a future class, because I'm getting ready to build the next calendar for classes. And if you guys are interested, really, there's so many nuances when it comes to assumables. So really, it's an 1.5 hour class to get certified. So these agents have been certified in assumptions, meaning we have educated them on all the nuances. There's so many little nuances. There's ways to get the buyers back in your car, the ways to list your property, how to have conversations with veterans. But these are certified agents that have signed up for our subscription, because we have built a website for agents to put buyers in. as a CRM so that we can match them with properties. We have calculators that show buyers the impact and sellers. So basically, you would be listed on our website once you become certified and sign up for the subscription as a certified agent. So looking at some of these agents, they haven't closed any assumptions yet, but there's, Nick Bacani here. He just started with the program 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and he already has one assumption under contract, and he's got 7 buyers back in his car that faded away because of this program. And we've been playing matchmaker and showing, Shauna Messick, she just closed one with us on Friday. So she has one under her belt. Tiffany Burks has one under her belt. So this is a good way. We're going to be driving buyers and sellers to this website. We are going to be holding home buyer and home seller seminars to educate. Like I said, real estate agents aren't the only ones that haven't been educated over the past 30 to 40 years. It's everybody. Anybody under the age of 50 doesn't really understand what an assumption is in reality. Title agents, people in the mortgage industry from that are in their 60s, 70s. Oh yeah. They're like, oh yeah, I did an assumption back in 1979 or 1980. So really it's been around forever. It just hasn't been utilized. So we are going to post on our calendar, and if anybody wants to reach out and, show some interest, we are planning to have a small 20 agent intimate gathering here next week. So if you want to participate in it, let us know, because they usually go within 24 to 48 hours seats to these classes. We launched technically 10 months ago, but really we brought this to the market at the end of September is when we really started getting some traction. And last week was our hard launch, like with the website and with huge education and the tools. And it's exploding. Everybody is excited about assumptions ultimately.
Yeah, it's an absolute great way to rekindle. Now, here's one of the things I really want everyone to really grasp as well. If we had buyers that are now qualified for 325, but the homes they like were in the 450 range, but because the higher rates now they just can't get into the homes that they really want. They wanted a 4-bedroom home for their family, and they only qualify for 325 because of the rates. Now they can get into that price point because the rates are so much lower. You can qualify for a lot more than what you can qualify at the current interest rates in the market. So a fantastic way, and Mike and Rachel have made it easy for us. And we want to make sure you guys know when there is a listing that's coming up, the questions to ask your seller, how to prep this to post it in the MLS properly and to be able to sell this. And you want to talk, Rachel, about the how much the benefit of selling a home with an assumable mortgage and the timelines, how it can take a little longer. However, the days on market is less.
Yes. And it's a great point. Buyers, like, to kind of put it in perspective, to touch on what you said, Sean, we are seeing buyers who are looking in the 250 range, which isn't easy. They're looking in the 250 range. We're seeing an average of a level up or an increase in purchase price of anywhere from $200,000 to $250,000. And a lot of
for the same payment,
for the exact same payment, if they go with the assumption. And a lot of the objections we were getting from real estate agents was buyers are picky these days. They want a perfect house. And I'm telling you, if you take a buyer from the 450 price range, for example, to the $700,000 price range, they're not picky so much anymore. You're taking them into a completely different neighborhood for the same payment on 450 versus 700. That's different school districts, more appreciation. That $700,000 house is going to appreciate a lot more. And so
ultimately, make a good analogy for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're buying a Lexus that's brand new, or you can get a Ferrari that has a tiny ding in the corner for the same payment. Which one would you choose?
That's a great analogy. Yes, absolutely. So, the assumptions, they're great. However, there is a little pain to it. They do take a little bit longer. On average, they take about 60 days to close, simply because the servicers, they haven't had an assumption department in 30 to 40 years. They literally just recently grabbed 2 call center loan officers threw them in a room and said, you're now our assumption department nationally, on a national level. And they really don't understand what they're doing. And so it's no different than short sales of 2008, 9, 10, et cetera. You know, it's very new to the market. They're figuring it out. And so it's a little bumpy. And that's why we're here. We're here to help everyone through that process. But patience, you know, we just have to set the right expectation that it is going to take a little bit of time. However, what we've noticed is that when we were calling listing agents in August, houses were still kind of moving rather quickly. And the objection we were getting was, no, not interested. 60 days is too long. But by the end of September, those agents were calling us back saying, our houses are sitting now. I'd much rather get them under contract and that 60 days ticking than to not invite assumptions at all. Because in reality, you could potentially sell the home and you could sell the loan as well. And an example of that is we have a veteran who is willing to allow non-veterans to purchase his house and assume his loan. He's getting full asking price for his home. And that buyer wants that 2.5% interest rate on his $650,000 loan. And that buyer is going to pay him an extra $20,000 for his loan because he's going to save in this particular situation almost $3,000 to $2,300 a month, $2,300 a month by assuming this loan. So to him, it's a no-brainer. I'll pay you a year's worth of savings to beat out that next guy for your loan. I want your loan. So that's how listings, you could get more for that listing
And sell faster.
and sell faster. There's just so many different ways, and we're learning more as we go. We're learning what the value of it is to different people or how to overcome objections, because there really shouldn't be any. It's a win-win for a seller and a buyer at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's a win-win-win all around. The only person that loses out is the lender. Good job, Sean.
Hey, yes, I've been doing this now. This is my 25th year in the industry, guys. And whatever I can do to bring value to the agents around us, our goal is to create homeowners
Yes.
in a nutshell.
100%.
So whether it's with financing, whether it's with these creative ways like the assumptions to get your buyers into homes that maybe would never be able to buy again, now they can. So we want to make sure you have in your quiver, so to speak, which is where you keep arrows, little weapons. Each weapon is something that you guys can use to help your buyers. And this learning about these assumptions and becoming an expert at them through this program, through this site, and through their training, I think is going to be invaluable in your presentations for listings, in your presentations with buyers, to set you apart so that they can go, wow, I'm so glad that XYZ referred you to me. Because you need to be an expert in all things real estate. And it's kind of like the short sale days. I know I'm aging myself in the market, but it wasn't too long ago, 10, 15 years ago, that we were doing short sales and nobody wanted to do them. They're like, I'm not going to do them. And I remember agents saying, I'm not going to do short sales at all. I'm not going to mess with it. And guess what? A lot of those are not in the industry anymore. But those that adopted the change and saw the value of helping people, they gained massive market share. And that's kind of what the mentality is with these. A lot of people are saying these assumptions are too hard. Well, Rachel and Mike have really taken that difficult processing side out of it completely. So you want to explain the cost involved and who pays that?
Yes, absolutely.
So guys, the processing, dealing with the garbage that the lender is having to put you through is a lot. You're going to want somebody to take that over for you so you can go do more real estate. This is pennies on the dollar for what they do. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, fantastic. So right now, until February 1st, any contracts received, it's 0.5% of the purchase price charged to the buyer. Now, if you negotiate for the seller to pay closing costs, of course, the seller could cover that expense. As of February 1st, the cost is going up to 1%. And like Sean said, it's a lot of work, and you guys should really do what you guys do best, which is real estate. And the buyer and seller, they don't know how to process their own assumption. I promise you. These are tougher. They're not your traditional new financing run through automated system. It's throwback to 1980 hardcore manual underwrites. They're really, really tough. So we highly encourage that you never take one of your listings off the market, knowing that the buyer is adamant about processing that assumption themselves. Simply, it's the likelihood of it failing is very, very high. And so, Sean, I would say you said you've been doing this for 25 years. You're a fantastic loan officer, one of the best out there. I mean, is it something that you would want to do yourself since you're in the business if you were going to purchase an assumption?
No. I mean, think about it this way. When back in the day when we were doing short sales, remember all the short sale management company, all the short sale attorneys that were just jumping in to help? Because it's brain damage, guys. It is absolute brain damage. You're dealing with loan officers that are probably they were in the call centers doing refis, and now their company shoved them into this loan assumption department. They have no idea what they're doing. They're telling you bad information. You need professionals that have the time dedicated to this to really sift through the mortgage garbage that these loan officers have you deal with. And believe me, guys, you don't want to be doing it. You don't.
So that let me just add on to what Rachel was saying is that 0.5% of the sales price that's paid through escrow as closing costs
Upon successful closing.
Successful closing.
Yeah.
So if it's not successful, there is no fee. And the other thing to remember, like if you're talking to one of your buyers and they're like, oh, that just seems like another fee. Well, there is no new loan because they're taking over an existing loan. So there's no loan fees. There's no loan origination costs. There's no points. None of that exists because remember, there is no lender in the assumption piece.
Yeah.
So,
and guess what? There's no appraisal. Guys,
yeah.
if you have an ugly listing, like this thing will never pass FHA, but all your buyers are FHA buyers. If it has an FHA or VA loan on it, you can advertise no appraisal needed, right? On the assumption. Like, yes, I know the roof is missing. Right? But hey, it's a great deal. Buy it with an FHA loan. There's no appraisals. So you really need to become an expert because, guys, there's these little things you can grab onto to make yourself look like an absolute genius in the market. And you need to know this stuff. So I highly recommend and urge you to reach out to Rachel and Mike, get their training, become an expert at a certified agent so that you can advertise that. You can get more listings. You can get more buyers. You can close more deals. That's what it's all about. So I want to thank you. I know you could probably go on for a couple more hours, and absolutely. I urge you to recommend go to their house, do the competition to try to find a hidden room in their house. They have a hidden room somewhere that is kind of fun. So when you go there, it's intimate. You have a charcuterie board. You learn about it. You get to know them. It's really cool, guys. So check it out. And I'm going to go ahead and bring it back to me, guys. But I want to really thank you guys. You want to put your contact information, not just the website, but your contact information in the chat, please?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Perfect, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I ask a quick question? And that's, how do I, as the listing agent, know whether my client's loan is assumable? Do you have something in your website that I could check that, or?
So we always encourage that you ask them for the mortgage statement, and generally the mortgage statement is going to indicate whether or not it's FHA or VA. And if it's not clear, reach out to us. And we like to certify, because we've worked with the servicers. We like to certify whether or not the loan is FHA or VA. So, you could shoot it over and just say, hey, could you take a look at this mortgage statement? But it's really either looking at the deed of trust, looking in Monsoon. Monsoon is a good tool. Looking at the mortgage statement to identify whether or not it's FHA or VA.
And if it is FHA or VA, it is assumable.
Yes. 100%.
So let's jump on that. The only loans that are assumable, the only ones are FHA, VA, USDA, which is a nightmare, and basically no conventional loans or jumbo loans are really assumable. Now there is one little like rabbit hole you can go down in conventional loans for adjustable rate mortgages, but you don't want to go there.
Yeah.
You'll be bald, male or female. You'll be bald when it's done.
So true. Yes.
But yeah, only VA and FHA loans for the most part, guys. That's the only ones that are assumable. I want to make sure you guys understand that. So you can't
Thanks so
do a
much.
30,
That's very helpful.
yeah, you can't do a conventional loan at all with this. So you have to find the VA and you have to find the FHA loans, and then make sure that the veteran or the sellers are willing to go through that process. And they
then
should.
Once you've identified that it is FHA or VA, that's when we ask that you reach out to us so that we can, we have relationships with servicers. We have a database. We can tell you whether or not that servicer will allow for secondary financing. If the difference between the purchase price and the loan amount is pretty significant, we can bridge that with secondary financing, but not all servicers allow for it. Some servicers have overlays and nuances. And so these are the things we don't want you to get caught up in. So we want to certify before you advertise that property. We want you to certify it. We want to certify it so you can advertise it well with the right keywords and with the right information.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Yeah, guys, this is a tool that I think all of you would absolutely love. And I think my battery is about ready to fry. Hold on one second, guys.
Nice room.
My room growing up, right? But no, I really want you guys to take this and not just dismiss it as something that you guys just don't want to deal with. You really need to be a part of this movement, and I call it a movement because it's powerful, guys. How you look like to your sellers and to your buyers when you present this information as an expert is going to be fantastic. So any questions for me on the markets, for Rachel and Mike, any questions that you guys have, feel free to jump in. Don't be shy. I think we answered all of them then. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer. Definitely jump in. Do they help with the secondary financing? You guys want to answer that, Mike and Rachel, in regards to the secondary financing if a home equity line is needed?
Yes, because again, that's another one of those nuances within assumptions is there's not all lenders will do secondary financing behind an assumption. But so yes, we do.
Yeah. And again, I can help with that too, guys. So if you have somebody that's willing to do an assumable mortgage on their listing, but the buyer needs that second mortgage, I happen to know a pretty good mortgage guy. But yeah, we can work with you guys on that. And yeah, so good questions. There's going to be a lot more questions, and I urge you to reach out to Rachel and Mike in regards to that. But any questions that you have right now, you want to put in the chat, or if you want to go ahead and just voice your opinion, raise your hands, just start talking. Don't be shy. That's what we're here for, guys. Their contact information is in the chat, just to let you guys know. All right. Well, I think we must have been expert speakers because there's no questions.
Or just really boring.
Super boring or expert.
But I'll go ahead and stay.
Hey,
on.
Sean.
Yeah. Yes,
It's Mike. Yavapai County. Is
yes,
it
sir.
Up here yet?
So you want to address that? Maybe let them know in Yavapai County and other surrounding counties. How can they can search if they don't have it on your website yet?
It is on the website. Everything for Arizona is on.
Oh,
the
good.
Website. Yeah.
Very cool. So you just scroll up, go up in the map to Yavapai County.
Yep. That's exactly right.
There's definitely fewer up there than there is down here in Maricopa County. But yeah.
Will
So
you
guys,
will you do a class up here?
We can,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we could do one.
Yeah.
Just
And
get in touch with us.
Yes, reach out to us and we can put that together for you.
We will.
love it.
I'll get a hold of you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
all right, guys. Well, have a wonderful Thanksgiving week, and I'll be working all week as I always do for you guys. And I know Mike and Rachel are going to be working hard on their site because they've got a lot of work to do just from seeing what they've already done. It's pretty amazing. So good work, guys. And let's get out there and become experts in everything real estate related and sell some homes.
Thanks. Great info. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, guys.